Привit. Welcome to this third installment of the SUSK USO Spotlight. My name is Nykola Dovgyy, and I have the privilege of being this year's SUSK VP West. Joining me today, I have Andriy Prichliak, who is the president of the Ukrainian Student Society at the University of Alberta. So welcome, Andriy, and thank you for joining me today. So Andriy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Andriy Prichliak. I'm the president of the Ukrainian Student Society at the University of Alberta. I'm, I guess, doing an after degree in business currently. I already have a degree in sciences and trying to get into med school. But aside from all that, I am the president of the Ukrainian Student Society.
Sweet. And no, cool. And thanks again for joining us today. I think we can really get a lot of good information for kind of the rest of our clubs out across the country this meeting, I guess. So first thing I have lined up for you is can you just kind of give a little bit of a breakdown as to why you got involved with USS and some of the reasons that you've seen your time there for the club's success?
Yeah, for sure. I've been involved with the Ukrainian Student Society for quite a bit. I believe this is my fourth year, either third or fourth year. I kind of lost track of time, especially this year. Yeah, either my third or fourth year being in the student club. The Ukrainian community has always been a big part of my life. I've spent time in class for the good majority of my life, which is like a Ukrainian youth organization. As well as participating in many Ukrainian events throughout my life. I went to like Ukrainian bilingual school when I was growing up. I did like the whole like Ukrainian Saturday school thing. And I found that USS at the University of Alberta was a good outlet to kind of explore more about, I guess, the Ukrainian community and give others a chance to learn about Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian traditions, and so forth, and so on, and to raise awareness about ongoing issues in Ukraine with Russian aggression, as well as raising awareness with events such as like the Holodomor or something. I feel like it's a very good outlet, especially in the university sense, to raise awareness and allow other people to experience what it is like to be Ukrainian. So
Absolutely.
That's the main reason why I got involved, just to explore more of that territory in any possible way that I can.
For sure, yeah, that's really sweet, and I think that's a pretty common theme for a lot of people across the country, why they get involved in their USO. So that's really cool, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Next thing I have lined up for you here. So USS is one of the most established clubs, probably in the country. And so how do you guys kind of get like such high membership numbers year over year? Is it something special that you guys do at the U of A, or do you guys just have really engaged and really excited students, or kind of what do you see from year to year as to how you're able to keep such a high membership?
I think from what I've noticed, Edmonton, where the University of Alberta is based in, has a very strong Ukrainian community. So there are always people looking to join in different like Ukrainian organizations, especially given when they get into university over time. So there's a lot of people in, like, for example, Plast, Zoom, I think other like CIUS and so forth, like all these
dance groups and stuff too, right?
Yeah, and I also want to like. We also have a lot of Ukrainian dance communities as well. So we have all these different dance organizations that people are a part of, and through word of mouth and through just, I guess, advertising from our end, people see that there's this Ukrainian organization that they want to join up in and take an active interest and part in. So I think that attributes a lot to our success, as well as we have a very good like a good system in place, like a good fundamental kind of like to-do list every time we do have turnover for different positions.
Absolutely.
So I think that definitely contributes a lot to why it's been sustained and why we are so consistent when it comes to this yearly turnover that we get, because it's not just one person in power the entire time, or one like same exec throughout all these years, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that, yeah, having a strong Ukrainian community definitely helps, but also establishing a good like fundamental basis and having the people that are motivated and willing to take that up and be in that kind of area, motivation really helps. So, and I do understand that that's a big issue for many USOs, different Ukrainian student organizations, is like you have one person that's motivated, but then what, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
that's something that I think is definitely not unique to one single club. I think that's a pretty common theme. But I agree with what you said about the succession planning and everything is incredibly important. But if you were to give one kind of tip to a new club or a club that might be struggling a little bit, what's something that you might recommend, like who to reach out to, or if there's something like that might be able to help them out?
I would think if there are any sort of like organizations or like Ukrainian organizations that have members in its own sense, maybe reaching out to those organizations and seeing, hey, or letting them know that like, hey, we have a club, and many people don't really know about it, right? Especially if you're just a brand new club. So I think advertising, coming into contact with these different like maybe like organizations that may or may not exist, could definitely help in like boosting members, as well as like people taking interest, because the more people know about it, the more chances there are of people being like, hey, I actually really want to be a part of this.
Definitely.
So I think just awareness is definitely a huge factor in that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Success.
And I too, like, I'm also a USO president in Saskatchewan, and I can't stress enough how important it is, and how beneficial it can be to reach out to other community organizations. So
Absolutely.
Establishing those relationships, I think, is a really important part of running a successful USO.
For sure. And it doesn't even have to be like Ukrainian organizations. It could be other student organizations as well, right? So you might have people that, you know, are interested in just joining another organization because they're interested in it, not just because they're Ukrainian or they want to learn about Ukrainian whatever, right? Like if this is something that they identify with,
of course, yeah, definitely,
it might be something that you might want to get into. So
cool. Yeah, well,
yeah.
Good answer there. Kind of switching gears a little bit, I guess. So COVID this year has obviously thrown a wrench into everybody's plans, but it's still important to kind of try to keep that membership involved and active and that sort of thing. So just at the USS, has COVID affected your club and your usual events, kind of your interaction between your executives, and your membership activity? I mean, obviously being able or not being able to meet in person is a big downside, but has anything else arisen with the USS now that COVID kind of has a firm grasp on our school here?
Yeah, like quite a bit actually. So unfortunately, COVID being a thing, I'm pretty sure it's the same around like most universities, but with the University of Alberta, we're not allowed like on-campus events due to COVID-19 being a thing. And unfortunately, the majority of our events are in person. So for example, we have a welcome back barbecue that we invite all our existing members and all the members that signed up for our club. And we usually host like this welcome back barbecue. We give free burgers to people that are members. And if people didn't sign up, they have to pay for one. And that's when we elect our first year rep, right?
Right.
This year was a little bit different. And we weren't able to have that in person. So instead we just had like a Zoom meeting. And we did like a couple like games. We did a Kahoot game, and we got the word out to see if anybody would be interested in joining. And luckily we did have a couple of people join, but I guess when it comes to doing things online versus doing things in person, it's had a major impact.
Right.
One of the things that we faced a lot of difficulty was getting members to begin with. So a lot of it has been through word of mouth with the people that actually joined up. When it came to clubs fair, because at the beginning of every school year, I guess, we have this like massive clubs fair, and people walk through a tent and they see the different like billboards for stuff to sign up for, right? And that's where we get the bulk of our memberships. This year it was all online, so it was a virtual clubs fair, and next to no people attended because it's
Yeah. Yeah. It's
people don't want
tough.
to go out of their way. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, we ended up doing it for 3 days. We didn't see anybody really show up. We had maybe one or two people that became members, and
Yeah.
actually, interestingly enough, we didn't even charge a membership fee this year because, I mean, usually with our membership fees, you get a card or like a discount for all these different
Right. Right.
venues and areas. And with things not being so certain in the COVID-19 climate, we didn't really think it was worth it, so we didn't charge any membership fees.
Yeah.
And we
Well,
didn't really.
that's really
Yeah,
interesting, and I think it's good for other clubs to know too that even the most successful and the biggest clubs in SUSK's working body aren't immune to COVID, and so the struggles that you're
no,
facing at your own USO this year are going to be felt by everybody. So don't be discouraged. Hopefully,
yeah,
within the next year, we'll be able to come back a little stronger. But yeah, no, it is. I think it is useful for everybody to know that this is a thing that's happening across the country, and staying motivated might be a little tough, but hopefully it'll be worth it in the end. So,
for sure. Well, absolutely. And these are just things that we need to like kind of overcome. Like instead of having in-person events, we can make an online version of it and like put in the effort to generate interest, right? Make it a
exactly.
well-known thing. We did,
Of course.
for example, instead of the pierogi barbecue, we did an online version like pierogi making workshop. So I just did it at my house, had my mama and tata like help me
Yeah,
make pierogies, and had a decent turnout, like 7 to 10 people showed up and were making pierogies along with us. And it was
that's sweet.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Really
that
fun
is
time.
really good. So I guess kind of on that note, do you guys have any planned events that are kind of COVID friendly that the USS plans to run in the next little while here?
Yeah, so just what I just touched on there. That pierogi making workshop, we did that about end of October. I believe October 28th. I'm not 100% sure, but we did an event sort of on those lines where like it was COVID friendly, everybody was social distancing, and everybody was able to like kind of get a taste of the Ukrainian community
Right.
because we did that instead of our regular pierogi barbecue. As far as future events, we are trying to see maybe if we could do like a caroling, like kolyada type of online Zoom version of it. But
Right.
one of my, because we just talked about it yesterday too. One of my members, or one of the members on the exec side, thought it would be not a great idea because there might be like some lag when it comes to like singing, and that might interrupt with like people that are trying to sing together. And
Right.
so I'm gonna do a little test run to see if if that affects it to that extent. But so far that's kind of like there's a pin in that. And as for that, most of our events, we're still trying to see whether or not we'll be able to do them in the future in person. If not, we do have because most of our events for USS are in-person events, unfortunately, and just having to work around that has proved to be a challenge for the majority of us on the exec. But another thing that we are going to be doing, we usually have like a Pascha, Pisanka, and Pirahe event. So we all get together and we make Pascas, and we make Botanica, and then we also eat, or we make Pisanka as well. But instead we're going to do kind of something along the lines of like a along the lines of like the pierogi making workshop. We're going to do a Pisanka making workshop. So instead of doing the traditional like in-person event where you're just going to do it over Zoom. And I feel like that's the extent to which we're going to be doing if we're still unable to do in-person events this following winter semester.
Sweet.
But again, everything is all up in the air. We're not sure whether or not there's going to be further restrictions, or restrictions are going to be eased if we're able to do in-person events versus not. So it's very challenging because planning ahead is difficult in this climate of uncertainty.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's somehow managed to work out so far. And
cool.
thankfully I have a very strong executive behind me too. So participation for the exec is very good, and we have been also following up on our monthly newsletters as well. So
great.
That's something, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. No, anything to keep people involved, right? So I guess just last thing I have for you quickly here is since you've been involved with your local USO for so long, how have you noticed that SUSK is able to help out USOs or able to help out individuals who are looking for further opportunities within the Ukrainian community?
Oh, I've seen SUSK has been a huge help. We received a grant from, well, we're not from SUSK, but because of SUSK, we received a grant last year for, I believe it was for like $500, which is like free money essentially, which is awesome. Helped the club out a lot. But also like things like SUSK Congress for students that are in our USO, or even just members or people that are interested in getting involved. The information and like the advice given during SUSK Congress on how to manage USO, Ukrainian Students Organization, or how to like take part in it, how to start one even. All that information is packed into that weekend, which is huge for people, and for people trying to get involved in USO or to start a USO. Like it's huge, right? And it's very beneficial to most Ukrainian students organizations that are trying to, I guess, improve their existing Ukrainian organization or start a whole new one together, right? So it's definitely been a benefit. It's definitely been very helpful and useful in terms of help with Ukrainian student organizations.
Perfect.
In my opinion.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, okay, well, I think that that pretty much wraps up all the questions I had here, Andriy. So thank you so much for taking the time to kind of sit down and have this chat with me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, good luck with everything that USS has planned. And again, like always, don't hesitate to reach out to SUSK if you guys have any questions or concerns. So awesome. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And Счастливо.
Thanks, Nykola.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, so once again, I just want to thank Andriy for taking the time today to have that chat with me. I look forward to kind of hearing any feedback that you guys have on this video, and I look forward to seeing what Larissa puts out next with our next USO Spotlight coming up likely in the new year. So thank you very much, and have a good day, everybody.